G'day guys, it's Wayne Forrest from True Voice Today, and I'm here with the lovely Susan again, and we're looking at the topic of eating your frog.
Yeah, eating your big frog. Hey everyone, it's Susan Cook here. So wonderful to be with you today. And yeah, it's eating the big frog first. Way to go, Wayne.
So where did this idea of eating the frog come from? And it actually comes from Mark Twain. He once said, if it's your job to eat a frog, it's best to do it first thing in the morning. And if it's your job to eat two frogs, it's best to eat the biggest one first.
Wait, why do people eat frogs?
Huh?
Why do people eat frogs? Who would eat a frog?
Exactly. Well, the French do apparently, Susan.
They eat the legs.
They eat the legs. I tell you, it doesn't really turn my taste buds on. But the frog is the things we don't want to do, but actually need to do. And you know, if we've got a business or even running our homes or families, quite often we have a job that causes us to procrastinate at times. And for me, that is, and I touched on this when we talked about courage, it's also that, you know, that thing that can scare you. It's that thing that will move you, you know, it'll move you towards your goal. But yet you put it off because there's a little bit of fear around it that, and normally when there's fear around it, it's because it's going to help us grow. And I think that it's really important to look at this frog thing. What do you reckon, Susan?
Oh, absolutely, Wayne. You know, the best work habit you can ever get into is very simple. You do your worst task first thing in the morning, and then every given day you've got one major to do that's your highest priority. And like you say, basically most of us function the best early morning. Some people midday, it's very unusual, and some people late at night. It's just the way we work. But when you've got the whole day stretching out ahead of you, it's easy to put it off until after you get your coffee, check your email, or go to whatever you need to do, get the kids to school. So just like breakfast is the most important meal of the day, the first thing you accomplish at work, or what you're going to do at your desk if you happen to be working from home, it sets the tone for the rest of your day, doesn't it, Wayne? It just does. It works you into the right state of mind.
And it goes so beautifully with what we did the other day with the calendar. You know,
absolutely.
Yeah. This is the next step. And once you've got your calendar nice and organized, then we have a list of jobs that we have to get done or accomplished during that day. And quite often there's one there that, like I know you've told me many times, Susan, 80% of our production could be tied up in one job that we really kind of struggle with.
Yeah. You know, the other thing is when the first thing in the morning, when your mind is clear and it's generally quiet and you haven't been distracted into multitasking into, hey ho, 6 different directions yet, it is so important to do exactly what you're saying, Wayne. You know, it's what your one opportunity to prioritize the things that matter to you the most before your phone starts ringing and the email box starts dinging, and, you know, getting onto Facebook or LinkedIn or any of the sort of things like this. If you discipline yourself, you have the ability to actually eat those big frogs first. And this is very important. So when you knock out something important on your to-do list before anything else, you get the momentum and you get the sense of accomplishment way before 10 a.m. in the morning.
And Susan, I love that. And it's about creating the habit. It's the same with the calendar, isn't it? And
Yeah.
it's the same with the frog. It's like a muscle. Where the more we do it, and more we create this muscle of going, right, let's look at my jobs, let's prioritize them.
Yeah.
And actually, Brian Tracy, who talks and writes about eating your frog, and obviously he got that idea from Mark Twain, but he has got some great books out there, and he kind of lists the priorities of those ideas.
Yeah,
And
he does.
and I think he put it into A, B, C, D, and E. So A is like, right, he looks at his list of jobs during the day, the very important ones, that's A. And that's the jobs that have got serious consequences if you don't. Like if you've got a boss and she's asked you to prepare something for a meeting that she has at the end of the day, there's serious consequences if you don't do that job. So those kind of jobs that really do matter, and we were talking about the 80% before. So those jobs are very important, and they are your frogs. And then you can actually list your frogs into what's the most important frog to eat first, and then the second most important frog.
Yeah, I'd love to share with everybody. One of my most important parts of my daily routine is some time ago, I learned this from Wayne Dyer's YouTube inspirational videos online. He trained with our mentor and coach, Mary Morrissey, and Bob Proctor. And we have a great respect for these three people because they're kind of like the godfathers of transformational coaching. So what I learned from that was that you set yourself up to eat your frog tomorrow morning, the last thing before you get ready for bed at night. And what you go ahead and do is you choose your frog, your big frog, and write it down on something that you'll see when you first get up in the morning. I often use stick-it notes and put a reminder up on the bathroom mirror if it's really paramount. And I add an extra one on the kettle so there's no chance of me missing it because I must have my early morning coffee first thing. So those are the two things that obviously we do when we get up. We look in the mirror, well, we do other stuff, but we won't be talking about that here. But we have our coffee or our tea. And then you see the stick-it note and you know exactly what's there. You realize it. And when you're doing this the night before, if you can, I highly recommend you gather together the material you need to get it done. And you have that out too on your workstation and everything else. So getting things done is a habit. And if you start every day by accomplishing something important, you'll get more done than, let's say, 90% of the average Joes out there. Don't you agree with me, Wayne?
Oh, perfectly. And it's for a lot of us that haven't been in this work long, and this way of prioritizing and calendars. A lot of us out there haven't done that before, and I have to admit I'm reasonably new at it myself. So you're saying that you do your list the night before?
Yeah, I do. I actually do, and I put the stickers up. This is what I have learned from listening to what Wayne Dyer suggested, and it is what we're coached to do through our mentor Mary Morrissey as well, is to prioritize, get it done. And by the way, as well, when you're looking in the mirror first thing and the stick-it note, don't forget to tell yourself that you love yourself and that you're the most important person in your life, because that way it actually puts your mindset knowing that you actually have to get out there with this most important person eating the big frog first.
So you're saying that you do this when you brush your teeth, Susan?
Yeah, absolutely. I sort of have a look there, look at sometimes there's 3 stick-it notes, but I know that those are there, and they're on my kettle as well.
Yeah.
And then I sort of put together stuff, whatever it is that I need, or I make notes, bullet point notes, and I put them next to my laptop. because I know that that's what I'm going to do. So, we talked about calendars before as well. So we have the calendars up and ready and going, and we can look at those. But from that calendar, you can actually transfer what's most important and paramount that you need to get done first thing in the morning. So that's when you're eating your let's say you do your worst task first. So by worst, I mean most important. And by the most important, I mean the task you're most likely to procrastinate on. And the deadline you're dreading, the slides, let's say slides for a presentation you're terrified of giving. Wayne and I have been talking about this. So yeah, we get frightened sometimes. We think, facing our biggest fear and think, and that you've got to get that done. And, or let's say the research you sure will turn up information you don't want to know. So you do it before you do anything else, before you have time to think about it too much.
And I love that. And my mum always said to me, Susan, if you start, you're halfway there. And that's a beautiful thing to, because quite often we put off that big job to the last minute. And I keep reminding myself of that one is like, right, if I start this, I'm halfway there. And before you know it, you've got into it an hour later and you're like, wow, I've just about smashed this out. And then, it really does make you feel really good, because that one thing that was causing you a little bit of stress or anxiety about doing is nearly finished, and you can have your morning cup of tea and go, yes, I am the man.
I'm the man.
Or the woman.
And then you can throw all the sticky notes away and get ready for the next day. So, Wayne's and my business coach, John Boggs, I adore this guy. He is just one of the most brilliant business coaches you could ever wish for. And what he does is he recommends various actions. And, the first one is to set goals. So we're talking about number one goal is the more clear you are about what you want and what you have to do to achieve it, the easier it is for you to overcome the procrastination. You eat that frog and you get on with the completion of the task. And then he goes on he trained us. Number two, the number one way to deal with procrastination is to set your goals, which we've been talking about. And then number three, you take your blank sheet of paper, you write down your top 10 goals you want to achieve this coming year or this year. So we're recording this in 2018 on the last day of 2018. We set this goal that we do this today, and you will very likely be hearing this in 2019. So you get your 10 goals down, and you want to know at the beginning of 2019 what you're going to achieve this year. And then number 4, you get this clarity. It will give you the ability to know which frogs you must eat first to complete your goals. Because what you do is you go in and you circle what's paramount on that list, your list of 10. And then you work on to that. So there's an 80-20 rule that we go on. And it's the Pareto principle. So small amount of your activities are leading to a huge amount of your results. Wayne, what do you think about this?
Yeah, no, I love that. And it's so true, quite often we have 2 or 3 things, or even 3 things. It's normally 2 or 1 or 2 things. And quite often that's where 80% of our production is. And then the rest is only about 20%, and it might be 5 or 6 jobs or even more. So it really does make you more efficient if you can have a look at what frogs or what jobs are going to give you the biggest payback for your day. And all of a sudden you've done, say, an hour or 2 hours work, and you've got 80% of your work done because you've gone and prioritized those two jobs. That is going to give you the biggest payback. And for really successful people, you can see how that can work, because they're very efficient with their time. And like we said in the calendar, everyone's got the same amount of time. So how are they being so efficient? And this is what we're teaching you. We're teaching you how to be super efficient so you can create stuff in the shorter time, so you can be more spontaneous, as we talked about, more time to do those things that you really love, and spend more time with your families.
Yeah, it's so important, Wayne. What we're trying to put across to everybody is to take time to figure out what those things are, and you do them more often. And for example, if you take these 10 things on this list that we were talking about, there's a massive probability that 2 things get you 80% of the success you want, like Wayne was saying. So it's really crucial to identify what those things are and what you must do now. And then these things actually lead you into a greater majority of your success. So when, there's another one that John was taught us. It was like oil barrels. And then that's what we want to do to have our micro goals. And then that's when you don't overwhelm yourself, where you're thinking you need to get to goals in just one big step. It's not going to happen. We're all human. We are not Superman and Supergirl or whatever. Well, we are when we're coaching our clients. We tell them to put on their Supergirl suit or whatever it is and fly. But, when you're realistic, it's not going to happen. So when you're confronted with a massive list, you will procrastinate. So on the other side, when you look at your micro goals, if you break down that one big goal into tiny little steps, into micro goals, you can actually accomplish and do some of the most incredibly amazing things. It is, once you've actually experienced it and done it once, you figure out that you can actually do it every single day.
And that's such a critical point, because we can get so overwhelmed for that big job.
Yeah.
And it's, if you break it down and what is the real frog in that job? The whole job's a frog, but like you said, micromanaging that job is like, well, which one's my biggest frog that's going to give me the biggest payback, and start ticking them off that way. Beautifully said, Susan. I love that.
There's that other one that John teaches. It's called John teaches us. It's called the I handle, and that's when we waste a lot of time to distract ourselves, especially in this modern day and age with the electronics.
Good old Facebook.
Good old Facebook. Good old whatever it is that you are actually obsessed with. You're living in that realm and that world when you've got a real world living outside of you. So being distracted is the worst enemy of productivity. It really is. So, for example, if you physically make yourself turn off your email notifications first thing in the morning when you're eating those big frogs, you'll likely increase your productivity by 10% each day.
Yeah. And that goes for Instagram, Facebook, all those notifications, especially a lot of people work on their phones today.
Yep.
Turn them off while you're concentrating on that frog or those 2 frogs or whatever that is for that morning. And then have a look at them once you've smashed that first or second job out.
You are so right, Wayne, because in reality, when you start something and then suddenly you get this, what I call the monkey brain, it's sort of off, it goes somewhere else. And oh, there's an email. I'm going to go and check that email. And then you start working again at your task. You lose that actual full concentration on what the task is. And, that kind of multitasking is absolutely, the French would say, interdit, not allowed, horrible for your productivity. And if you're doing that, you have to constantly get your momentum back. And then you're sort of figuring out where you left off, and it takes you forever to actually get back into that task. Or you sort of, I'm just going to make another cup of tea or a cup of coffee, and then you are back to being a procrastinator.
Yeah. And Susan, I'm still learning a lot of this stuff. So even to be honest with our listeners, this is building a muscle. So it's really about practicing, and I'm the first one to admit I'm going to take on some of your ideas, and I'm going to actually start writing my list just before bedtime. And I'm only going to take 5 minutes. It's not going to take long. No. I'm going to circle my frogs for the next day, and that's one thing that I know that I can take from this call, even myself. So it's no right and wrong here, but it's about creating that muscle to get better and better and better, and that's what we're talking about.
And Wayne, and I'd love the audience to know, it is paramount, it's really important to do one thing at a time.
Yes.
One thing at a time. Don't tell yourself, oh yeah, I'm a really great multitasker. Forget that. You've got your 2 frogs, and the biggest one you go for first. And you get into the habit of finishing that one big thing first. I sort of have a vision of this, the frog in your mouth, and it's halfway down your throat, and the little feet sticking out your mouth. Well, swallow the feet. So when you get into the habit of finishing those things, you start it, you finish it, and you feel so good because you finished it.
Yeah. And Susan, I think we'll just end on helping people prioritize those things. So like we said, the A, B, C, D, E idea is a really good one, and I like this one. So like I said before, the A things are the very important things with serious consequences. Do them first, and then look at your list, and the B should be the should do things, like returning calls, returning emails, those things that are important, but they can wait. So that should be. Your C is they're nice to do, but they aren't necessary. And quite often we do them first, So they really should be third on your list.
Absolutely, Wayne. I agree with you there. And Wayne, if you're in the habit of allowing yourself to be distracted, you just have to discipline yourself, like you say, into single-handle things, one thing at a time. And you will notice that your productivity, my mouth, motor mouth, your productivity will go up, way up. So, Wayne, that's the wrap for today, really, what we've got to tell these people. What do you think?
And I've got a couple more on that list, Susan, and that was D are the jobs that you can delegate, okay? So if you can, even in our homes, we can delegate to the kids, to our partners, a few jobs. So you have got those sort of jobs on your list that you might be able to delegate. And then we also have E, which is eliminate. We have jobs that that don't have an impact on your business or your home that we don't need to do.
You're so right there, Wayne. I think so often many of us who are highly responsible tend to try to take control of everything. And what we aren't doing a favor to ourselves or to the people that matter the most to us, be it our family or the people who work for us or who we work with, is that we actually tend to think we can do it all. And like you say, Wayne, there's everybody else there. Delegate, delegate, delegate. Get what's most important to you done.
Well, it's great for the kids too. You know, if you've got kids in your family, the more you can delegate, the better, because it's growing them as well, in my view. So
yeah, it's very important. It is, and then they learn from you as well.
Totally. Yeah. So that's us for today. That's the subject of the big green frog. Oh, crikey. Slimy, bloody little buggers they are. Hey, who wants to eat their frog?
Oh dear, I'll leave it at that. Grivet, grivet, grivet.
Yeah, awesome. Have a fantastic day, guys. That's me and Susan, and that's True Voice today.
Thanks, everyone. Love you lots, and go eat that big frog because you will find it's worth it. Bye now. Love you lots.
Bye now.